This week we are doing chapter 24, Modernity and the Road to War 1890 through 1914. So there are four major learning objectives from this chapter that I want to just briefly touch on and kind of explain just a little bit, and then to give you a heads up of what to be looking for as you read through this chapter. So they're here for you. They'll be on the overview page for you, but let's get into it just a little bit more. So your first learning objective is to understand the changes in sex and gender ideology during this period. So between 1890 and 1914, a lot of Western societies are going to experience really major shifts in sex and gender ideology, really challenging some traditional norms and laying the groundwork for modern understandings of gender and sexuality. And you have to keep in mind, these changes are influenced by feminist movements, scientific developments, and then also kind of broader social transformations. So you may not be familiar with this woman, but you've probably heard of schools named after her. This is Maria Montessori, and we have Montessori schools that are set up. So this is like education and how we look at education and how we kind of change from a traditional classroom setting to really more hands-on learning by Maria Montessori. You also have scientific development. You've got Freud during this time, Sigmund Freud, and kind of his views on, if you study any type of psychology, you know about like the id, the ego, those kinds of things. And he had this whole obsession with sex and sexuality himself. But then also, you're going to start to see women really changing and being offered more in society. So this is just a portrait of a Maori woman. So kind of showing you like Maori women in New Zealand, and white women get the vote. So this is early. This is a lot earlier than when the US women got votes. So this is 1893, but having women involved in politics and having women being educated, and really this new woman or this modern woman coming out of this period. That's kind of what they're expecting you to understand, how we go from like this Victorian woman to a new modern woman during this time. Not just about women, but also how we understand gender and how gender changes, our understanding of gender changes over time as well. Your second learning objective is to analyze the characteristic features of modernist culture. So this is dealing like with arts, literature, architecture, broader cultural norms. So you're going to see like rejection of tradition, especially when it comes to the arts, challenging like realism, classicism, and Victorian morality. You're also going to see a lot of experimentation and formal innovation. There's a lot of emphasis on the individual, inner life, like psychology, dreams, alienation over like these big grand narratives that we have from the Victorian era. So just kind of pay attention to those changing things. It's really fundamentally about shaking off the old and inventing the new, really starting to investigate your consciousness, embracing fragmentation, exploring abstraction, these abstract ideas, weaving innovation through all cultural forms. And it's not really a single style. Like here we have the Scream, probably one of the most like infamous, famous paintings that we have from this time. But this isn't just like this one style. It's a collective of movements unified by shared desire to respond to modernity's upheavals. Your third learning objective is to compare the various challenges to European imperialism during this period. So we're going to be looking at that scramble for Africa, not just Africa, but Asia as well. So when we're talking about that, you're going to notice a lot of challenges to this imperialism that's happening, from really localized resistance to ideological critique. Here in the US, there's even like the Anti-Imperialism League that forms, and that's just one example. There are anti-imperialism leagues that form kind of all across Europe and Western civilization as well. You're going to see armed resistance, especially when it comes to resistance in Africa, West Africa. You've got resistance to Germany and East Africa. You've got resistance in Ghana. You've got resistance in Sudan, Zimbabwe. In Asia, you're going to read about the Boxer Rebellion. In China, you're going to read about the rebellion that happened in India. So these places that are being colonized, which it is different, imperialism and colonization are different, but you've got these European colonies that are now facing challenges like more imperialism, more control from these European and Western civilizations are coming in, and they're going to start to react. They don't want to be controlled by outside entities. So you're going to see a lot of armed resistance in these territories that were already colonized. You're also going to see technological and environmental barriers. So transportation is limited, navigable rivers are limited. You will see victories by independent states. One of those is this place, Ethiopia. Ethiopia is going to be even like Italy's going to try to invade Ethiopia. And there's going to be, it's going to come around again like Ethiopia is kind of a hotspot for Italy. Italy wants control, so they are unsuccessful this time. Later on in history, you're going to read about another invasion by Italy into this area of Africa. But also, you're going to notice a lot of diplomacy with indigenous elites. Some of them choose to collaborate, aligning with colonizers for some power and protection. But places like China and Japan, they attempt to diplomatically reform their institutions in order to resist this imperial encroachment. So it's really interesting, all these challenges that you're going to see. You've got brutal military campaigns, costly reforms, ideological introspection. All this is happening. And eventually it's going to dismantle colonial regimes kind of building up. We're going to go through both world wars, but then after that, these colonial regimes are going to break down. And then finally, your last learning objective for this chapter is to analyze the factors that led to the outbreak of World War I. And the very first one, I mean, it's pretty easy to see kind of what starts World War I. Historians, we all kind of trace back the one event that starts World War I, and that is the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. It's also a great band. But the killing of Austria-Hungary's heir by a Bosnian Serb nationalist that aligned himself with the Black Hand. This is him being arrested. He is going to be the one that assassinates Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and that really sets up the one event that triggered World War I. Just like we have in World War II, which you're probably more familiar with because we seem to spend a lot of time on that, but you've got, sides. And it shouldn't surprise you, the sides that align themselves during World War I, almost identical to World War II. So the Triple Alliance, you've got Germany and Italy, just like you do in World War II, but that third one, instead of being Japan, in World War I, it's Austria-Hungary. And then you have the Triple Entente, and that is France, Russia, and Britain. Again, same allies that you have in World War II are going to be allying themselves in World War I. So look at the factors, outbreak. You've got, imperial rivalry. You've got militarism and nationalism, very aggressive nationalism. You've got Balkan instability. You've got diplomatic failures. And then also it should mention the July crisis. So look for that as well. So it's not caused by that one single event like the assassination of the Archduke, but there's like a lot of long-standing rivalries, and that was just kind of like the last second before everything boiled over was that assassination. As you're reading through this chapter, make sure you can answer those 4 learning objectives. That's your goal for chapter 24.